Good morning and welcome to the 2022 Chesapeake Oyster Science Symposium. My name is Tanner Council. I am the Chesapeake Oyster Alliance Manager for Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and I want to begin by thanking you all for being here. To everyone that took the plunge and joined us yesterday for an amazing day one of field experiences and sort of all around fun. Thank you. For those of you who made the trip today, thank you very much for doing it. For those of you up and down the East Coast, tuning in from your home, your office, or both, kind of hard to tell the difference these days. Thank you all. For our folks out west, thank you for getting up nice and early, and for our folks across the pond, good evening. Thanks for staying up late with us. I do want to thank right off the bat all of our moderators, our speakers, the Friends of the Rappahannock for helping us with our field experiences yesterday and for being such a big part of this agenda. To Greenfin Studios for helping pull all this together. To the Tides In, our wonderful hosts. All of these people bring together this amazing program that we've had over yesterday and going into today. We are coming to you live, for those of you on Zoom, from the beautiful and historic Tides In Resort and Marina right on the Rappahannock River in Irvington, Virginia. This is oyster country. This area, for those of you not familiar, this peninsula is defined by the Rappahannock River to the north, the York River to the south, all feeding into the Chesapeake Bay. And we have some of the most beautiful oysters on the coast being grown here, and a long, rich history, families going back a very long time growing oysters out here. You know why? It's one of the reasons why we're here. We're also fairly centrally located between all of our partners in the Alliance, which are spread between Maryland and Virginia. And I will say one of our hosts, the Tides In, when I first started this position, I had a colleague that said, "You're looking for new partners, you should go talk to the Tides In." And I said, a hotel as a partner? You know, we're oyster growers, we're universities, we're nonprofits. I said, you need to go out there. And I went out there and I met Will, and he showed me all of the incredible investments they've made in shoreline and terrestrial restoration out here, and all the ecotourism that they're doing here. And it sort of dawned on me, you know, they have a fledgling aquaculture operation, they're doing restoration, they're experimenting with technology and oysters, and they're doing ecotourism. They represent all these things that we are very focused on at the Chesapeake Oyster Alliance. And on the first day, I was like, Will, I'm not gonna make an ask on day one, but this would be a really nice place to host our symposium. And I'm so happy that it worked out. The second call is when I asked. So speaking of partners, Chesapeake Oyster Alliance is currently comprised of 87 partners. We are always recruiting new partners, and they, again, typically fit in aquaculture, restoration, research, and business associated with oysters. And that is reflected in our agenda today. So we have all those different fields on the agenda represented by, for the most part, our partners. And I'll give a special shout out to the Virginia Institute of Marine Science, who is very agenda heavy here, but it's natural because they are right down the bay from us. So thank you all for contributing and sharing your expertise with us today. So to that end, we have a very unique and potent coalition. Our potential in terms of advocacy, partner support, information sharing is astounding. And we're all sort of working for, in our own way, to restore the population, oyster population in Chesapeake Bay. This symposium is designed to highlight that work, to inspire cross collaboration and ask what's next. So there is, you know, when I talk to growers that want to do restoration, and restoration groups that want to support aquaculture, especially to get that very valuable shell, researchers who want to apply their work in a practical way in the real world, businesses, civic leagues, and other groups that want to support all of this. So today, when you're here, as we're navigating this agenda, pay special attention to the speakers and the topics that are outside of your field. Think, how can this inform my work? To those of you outside the Bay, the Chesapeake Bay watershed and region, we hope this symposium drives innovation in your local waterways. And please consider this a cordial invitation to come visit us here in the Bay and see it in person. Speaking first, I also accept invitations to come see your work, especially if it's in a warm, sunny, tropical environment. Looking at you, Texas, California. Okay, so a little bit of housekeeping. The main portion of the symposium is in Zoom webinar format. The format is rapid fire by design with no presentation longer than 10 minutes and some only 3 when we get to lightning round. You can communicate with the hosts or the group at large through the chat feature if you're on Zoom, but please use the Q&A feature for your questions. Get back to that in a second. For each panel, the moderator will introduce the topic and then pass to the panelists one by one. We'll save all the questions for the end. Please refer to the panelists' bios that will be emailed you for background on each speaker. The moderators will dispense with those formalities for more content in Q&A. After all the panelists have spoken, that's where the moderator will start pulling questions from the audience, and our lovely Paula will be sending questions from the online chat feature, Q&A feature. Enter those questions as you're thinking of them, keeping an eye on other questions, and you can upvote them, which will help us know what questions really want to be answered from the audience. Moderators will look to those first. Some questions may be answered very quickly in text as well. Those here in person, simply raise your hand and the moderator will call on you. If you have a question for a specific panelist, please name that person. For one of the most exciting parts of the program, the lightning round, between 12:30 and 1, you'll have time to grab your lunch and still listen to all those with time to spare. And I think that pretty much covers all of that. I, again, just want to thank everybody for being here. Let's get going. So first of all, to welcome us, we have Rich Karajan and Will Smiley from the Tides Inn. Rich, would you like to say a couple of words?
Sure. Thanks, Dan. Can you hear me? Yep. Well, thank you. The day that Tanner went to Will and said, hey, can we hold our event at the Tides, and Will called me. So that's how I got involved. And it's funny, I'm the director of sales and marketing for the Tides Inn. I've been in this business for a really long time at many different properties, and we talk about resort and hospitality. In my world, it's typically golf courses and tennis courts and sitting on a beach and all the things that you would do at a world-class resort. And I got here about a year ago and started to learn and see, and we were calling ourselves an iconic waterfront resort. And I'm responsible for branding and making sure that our positioning in the marketplace meets our product and service and vice versa. So you start to say all that. And as I mentioned to you yesterday, a few of you, my world starts where your science meets hospitality. So where the work that you're doing is sometimes unknown to our guest that comes here, but our objective is to ensure that they see what we're doing and how we are stewards to our waterways and all the work that we're doing. So our owners took on the Shoreline project a couple years ago, about 2 years ago, and completed it this past year. So as I've learned and see what we're doing here, it's just inspiring because there is an opportunity in ecotourism, and that's a relatively new word in recent years, to bring what you do to sustainability efforts and guests who come here and want to learn. So on that day that Tanner went to Will came to me and I said, why? You know, what does this all mean? And I wrote this down on this little yellow sticky, if you can see that. And it's been sticking on my computer since. And it simply says restoration, education, aquaculture, science, innovation, and sustainability. And I had no idea what I was writing down at the time. But as I've learned over this past year, we are more than just an iconic waterfront resort, and we are doing these things. And Will's told me a number of times the difference between an oyster for conservation and improving our waterways and all the things that you all do compared to the guest that just wants to get 6 dozen on ice with lemon. So that's a learning process, but our objective is for our guests to come here and see what we're doing. And we've had incredible feedback from our guests who come here this past summer and see that. And our objective is to spread that word. So we appreciate the work that you do. It gives us a platform to have our product and service and meet our guest needs. So continue to do so. And then there's one other quote that I wrote down when our owner about a year ago was being interviewed on the Shoreline project. And he said something that just struck me, and I'll read it off to you because I wrote it down and it's been sitting next to the yellow piece of paper this past year. And it just says, a community gains its strength from the mutual support that we all give each other. We have to do well by what we have. And that was his inspiration to shore up our shoreline here, which is a real small piece of the larger body of water. But he felt if we could do it, others can as well. So we are good stewards and we appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Yeah, what he said. So is this on? So complexity builds stability, and diversity builds diversity, and so that's in the world that we will work on to work toward clean water, but it also to build toward all of our engagement together, so collaboration. And clean water is the greatest, most equitable gift we can give each other. So here at the resort, we are working to basically spread genetic code, increase population, grow food, but most of all, we're trying to teach. So you come here to the resort, we hope that you are leaving with some other piece of knowledge that you didn't have when you came. We're doing that underwater, next to the water, and up on land. And we've got a long way to go in lots of parts of sustainability, but our offsets underwater and on land are a great start. The biggest thing when you do come to the resort, the first thing you think about is oysters are food. And then we hope that when they leave that they at least carry that oysters are the keystone species. So hope you all had a good sleep last night. We're super grateful that you're here. Please independently contact me, come back. Let's continue to collaborate and communicate. And I hope that I can also come out to see your world and work with you out there as well. So Carter's Creek is kind of our little world, but we're hoping that it can also be used as a model to the greater bay. So how many oysters do we need to do the equivalent to the 10 billion project? I'm not sure, but when I come up with a number, I'll let you know. So we're very grateful that you're here, excited for all the information to happen today, and please feel free to grab me at any time and let me know.